Swing Thoughts. Right off the top, I didn't see you with your meeting is recording thing. Is this being recorded for your?
It is. It is to meet union requirements and everything.
We wouldn't want to not be on YouTube. Saying YouTube sounds almost old-fashioned now. It's like, oh yeah, we're still on YouTube. You guys still on YouTube? Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're on the YouTube.
You're not doing TikTok videos?
You guys are influencers.
What's that, Jamie?
You're influencers all the way.
That's the voice of our guest. It's a little loose version of Swing Thoughts today. There's Jamey Dees, product line manager at TaylorMade. He's our special guest today on this episode of Swing Thoughts. I'm golf spiritual leader Humble Howard from the Humble and Fred Show, along with my longtime golf partner Tim O'Connor, Coach Tim, O'ConnorGolf.ca. Welcome, everyone. Happy New Year.
Yeah, and welcome to our 7th year of doing this thing.
Come on.
Seriously. Started doing it in 2016. I counted on my fingers. 7.
That's crazy, man. Well, it's great to be with you. Happy New Year, one and all. We got some stuff after we talk golf, or I should say tech. We're going to be talking golf for this entire episode, but there's going to be a great Coach Tim story of how he fought against the demon virus and he survived. As always, this program brought to you by TaylorMade Golf. I'm assuming that as long as we've been doing the show, and you remember better than me, has TaylorMade been our sponsor right from the beginning, or almost from the beginning?
Almost from the beginning, yeah. I'd say we're into our 5th year at least.
Well, it's an honor and a privilege, and of course, our newest sponsor, JWapprellinc. Looking forward to catching up with Jonathan Wong and getting into some new apparel, giving some stuff away this year. But listen, let's get right to it. He's excited. We're excited. Somewhere last night, I was watching the golf because it's, this is for people who are wondering, this is the 7th of January. Yesterday, the PGA Tour got underway. And I'm not sure, Jamie, if I saw the commercial online or on television. It might have been online. And what it was this new TaylorMade ad. And it goes back to the beginning of Pittsburgh Persimmon. And it starts with and it was my first metal driver, the TaylorMade burner. But the commercial is great, Timmy, if you haven't seen it, because it basically, the driver morphs through all the different versions of the TaylorMade drivers we had. So you got the TaylorMade, the metal wood, then you got the burner. I saw the little bubble shaft. Remember that? And then the R series into the Sims. The sliders, the SLDRs, and then the Sims. And now Jamey Dees, what are we looking at on the 4th? What is it, the 4th of February?
It is, yes. It's the new Stealth, and it is that next little person on the evolution of man sort of slide that you would see. We're standing completely upright now, having come from a long way from starting with what was a great product at the time in the steel, that Pittsburgh Persimmon. But we're moving to something that is really exciting. I mean, you start the new year, everybody gets a nice break, and then you start off going 100 all of a sudden right out of the gate again, and that's with a carbon face now. So all of the new flagship product that we will have a carbon face driver, which is really that next iteration of performance material from TaylorMade. And I think that commercial really sums it up beautifully, talking about all of the different leaps. There are different points in time throughout our product line where you go, that was big, that was huge, and this is just as big as any of those, if not bigger.
Yeah, what's so cool about this is that, you use the word iteration, is that, so for as long as many golfers will remember, titanium was the key piece, and it maxed out on it, but now you've gone to carbon. So why don't you just jump right in and tell us what is the advantage that carbon gives us over titanium?
Yeah, so the biggest thing is around mass, and really, you guys have heard this throughout the years, where everybody's looking to save mass so that you can move it somewhere else where it's more beneficial. And in a case like this, the biggest piece of mass left in the club head was the face. And so using carbon over titanium saves about 40% of that mass. And so your net savings is about 20 grams, let's say. So when you can move 20 grams around, you're moving 10% of the head and the head weight around. And what it also does, not only does it allow you to save weight and move it somewhere else, but moving that mass is more efficient. So you think about, how much energy uh, you have to use to move your fridge versus moving the box the fridge came in. Same size, a little bit of a different mass there, and so it's a much more efficient energy transfer. That trampoline effect becomes much more efficient and creates, as you have experienced, better ball speeds.
Well, first of all, I know we're a lot older than you, so I'll just say this: Tim and I aren't moving fridges. Probably haven't, for some time. But before we talk about, and what you just said, by the way, I found fascinating for a lot of reasons, which is I just think I finally understood that if you have a golf club that has 40% less mass, of course you're going to swing it faster because it's not as heavy, but yet you're getting the same, like aerodynamically, it's going faster as well.
Yeah, no. So the weight savings come from the face, but they move to other parts of the club. So the head weight doesn't change.
Oh, okay.
What changes is where that mass is stored.
Okay. Well, this will be no surprise to you. I barely passed grade 10 science. And I was just trying to sound somewhat like I understood. So you've moved the weight from the face, but I'll tell you, my experience, Tim, we both got fit for these drivers. We had to sign a non-disclosure agreement so we wouldn't
NDA.
take pictures of the driver like we're going to. But I'll tell you, Jamey, I don't know if you heard about my fitting, but and so I hadn't really swung a golf club. I a couple days before the fitting, I went and hit some balls with our friend Sean Casey at his place, which has been shut down. And then I got to the fitting. And so my mid-season, as good as I can swing a driver, speeds around 101, 102. But my winter speed is probably 99, 100. The first time I swung that club, the Stealth, I had 104 mile an hour club head speed, and my carry was 15 yards further than I normally carry my driver. And I'm not bullshitting you. Like, it was crazy, Jamey. I took pictures of it. I put it on. I sent it to all my friends. You see this? Of course, I didn't tell them what driver it was. Are those typical gains with this?
I wouldn't say those are typical, but we have seen that from certain people. Obviously, your swing speed is probably just because you were so excited. The aerodynamic properties of the driver are still fantastic, as they were, in the last couple of products with Sim and Sim 2. But the aerodynamic properties should be pretty similar. Where you really would see the gains is in that ball speed coming off the face.
Yeah.
We have seen, most people we could expect, you get a mile or 2 miles an hour consistently, but we've seen some examples like that where people are absolutely blown away, and it's a real eye opener, and their jaws hit the floor because they look at numbers like that, and it's incredibly tangible right out of the gate. And when you get to experience it, I think the great thing is when you get to experience it out on the course that you've played from, very regularly, you look at it and say, I don't usually carry that ball, or I'm not usually in this spot. And you'll get to experience the course in a kind of a different way.
Yeah, well, I had a similar experience compared to my Sim 2. My carry distance was up 13 yards with the Stealth. And so that was really exciting. But I also like just the way it looks. It's got a very classic shape to it when you look down on it. It's got a black matte finish. What went into the aesthetics of this new club?
And before you answer, I want to ask, based on just piggybacking Tim's question, do the visuals make a difference? Do you think about that? Because it's a pretty radical change in terms of the way it looks.
Well, the visuals definitely make a difference, and the reason for that kind of muted crown now. Obviously, you've used the last two products that we've had, which have had that sort of leading edge as a different color, because the face was black or dark, right? Yeah. And then the crown was dark. So you wanted something that allowed you to align the club. Well, now kind of the hero story is really about the face, and if you created something that had a colored face and then a different colored crown and then a different colored body, it's really distracting. The idea is that you want to set something down, but you want it to not only be performance based from a ball speed perspective, but really something that is kind of quiet and allows you to align it properly without distraction. So that is definitely something that was very purposeful. in terms of how it was designed.
Jamey, I want to just ask on behalf of your two colorblind hosts here, that face is red, isn't it?
That face is red.
I would have guessed red.
Yeah, I guess too. But as a colorblind person, I always have to ask. But the
that's a good point.
combination of the red and the black, it just looks so sweet.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a good point that it's not normal. I mean, it's very striking when you set the club down. And by the way, I just want to pop in here on behalf of Jamey. TaylorMade's not saying everyone's going to get 15 yards out of this driver. I get that. But I would tell you this. I had 3 mile an hour faster club head speed. And by the time I got to the driver part of the fitting, I'd swung for a couple hours. So I was pretty loose. But I would say this. I think most people are going to, because you mentioned ball speed, my ball speed was way up. The jump off the face of the club is what I think you want people to come away with, not a guarantee of 10 more yards. Although a couple mile an hour club head speed for most people is 4 to 6 yards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's really what we do want to come away with. There was I saw an article that someone else who went down to Carlsbad and got to experience the product. They went with a panel of people, and they basically said it's the first time that they've ever experienced where the entire panel all gained ball speed. Yeah. Where everyone found something positive out of it. And those are the things, again, we've seen, some fairly conservative gains. We've seen some huge gains, some people gaining, 5 and 6 miles an hour, crazy numbers. But the point is that everyone that we've put this product in the hands of has had gains. And it's not something that you can always say. So it's incredibly exciting for us.
I mentioned I was watching the golf from Hawaii, and I love it for a couple of reasons. It's pretty cold. I mean, not as cold as it's been out west, but this is the teeth of the winter, and then just turning on golf and watching, the vistas from Maui and such. But one of the things they mentioned on the broadcast is a lot of the guys in the field are using new equipment. This is when they try it out, and that's a good golf course to try out a new driver, etc. But there's a lot of pressure on TaylorMade, the number one driver in golf. There's a lot of pressure each year to come up with something different. How long, I guess what I'm trying to get at is every company is working on something. How long has this change been in the works? And is this the way of club manufacturing going forward, you think?
To answer the second part of the question first, it definitely is. There's, our product creation team has made a statement to say every one of our flagship products now will have a carbon face because of the performance gains. As far as the time that's been in the works, I think there were a lot of people that assume that, they've got the next 5 products baked. They know what they're doing. And it's not really correct. Obviously, they're working on the next version of a product, maybe concepts beyond that, but really everything else is around materials. It's the same thing when we started trying to put a carbon crown in M1. That material had been in the works for a while. Titanium was the same thing. That material had been in. Well, this is a 20-year journey of carbon, and they started working through the process of how do we use carbon, how do we use it specifically in collision applications. You have industries all over the world that are using carbon, but very few use it where something is impacting it. It's designed for for aerodynamic purposes and for weight savings. But as Tomobai said, who's our head of product creation for Metalwoods, he said you don't go to the hardware store. You might have a hammer that's got a carbon handle, but it doesn't have a carbon head. So how do we properly apply that? And it's been in the works for a long time. But basically, while it's been in the works, titanium manufacturing has gotten so much better too. So the gains were never to a point where we felt like it would be beneficial from a weight savings and performance perspective, but we finally kind of gotten to that point and really had that breakthrough where carbon is sort of the new, that next version on that evolution chart for us.
Yeah, and I don't know why I find it so fascinating, but it's really been for about like 20-ish years that titanium has been the material, and I always wondered what's the next thing to come along. And I was watching a TaylorMade video, and it was interesting how they talked about how they'd been working towards it and tried something, not quite there yet. So I don't know, I just find it really cool that we finally have a new material, and that there's a very cool performance story that is around that. So yeah, I think it's really cool. How's
Yeah,
that
so
for?
like I say, I mean,
How's that for an astute comment?
I
really
was
cool.
say he's not been feeling well the last couple of days. So let's whatever that was. No, I agree with Tim. Like, it's been, every year, we've been lucky enough for the 5 or 6 years that you guys have been letting us have new equipment and sponsoring this show. And it's a real eye opener, and it's a privilege to play the equipment. And I've all the drivers I've used, the Sim 1, the Sim 2, have all been great. In fact, I was before how these tests go for you people who haven't had it is you use your normal driver. So I'm using my last year's Sim, which I loved and I hit great. And I'm using it sort of as the baseline. I'm like, and I sort of jokingly said to the kid, Mark, that was, by the way, I refer to anyone under 40 as a kid. So you're probably a kid too.
Yeah, Mark's a kid.
Mark's a kid. Anyway, I said to him, do you see that? I don't know how you're going to, I was joking. I don't know how you're going to improve. I was hitting it pretty good. I was hitting it like 100-mile-an-hour club head speed in December, which is good for me.
61-year-old fellow.
Well, no, but like I said, I didn't think I was, I often wonder if it's a fair test, but I got it going pretty good with my old TaylorMade technology. But I got to tell you, Jamey, and maybe Tim felt this too. The first couple of swings I made with this club, I looked up and I was just surprised by the jump off it. Do you know what I mean? Like there's a distinctly different feeling to it.
And sound.
It feels like you've smashed it. But there's just a different, it just sort of pops off the face. Is that what people can expect?
Yeah, and I think what Tim just alluded to as well, it's the sound. I think if we just said we have a carbon face driver, I think the first impression that most people have is, well, that's going to sound weird. Because there have been some iterations of carbon in a face over time. They had them back in, I used to work in a little store back in the 90s, and they had them back then, but it sounded a lot like wood. It sounded a little thud. It was low. And the way they've been able to manufacture this face is that the acoustics of it are very, very similar to what you get out of Sim 2, which was amazing from an acoustic perspective, which has a really high frequency and a low duration, which means it has that clicky feel, and it doesn't, and it doesn't resonate for very long. So it has that real nice crisp feel to it and sound. And when you couple that with the actual performance of the face flexing and gaining ball speed, I mean, you just look at it and go, I can't believe this is carbon. And you keep looking at it. And I think to the other point, it has a nano texture on the face. It's a little PU coating, if you will. And it feels a little bit soft. So you look at it, you touch it, and you think, what am I using here?
That's right.
It's all very sweet. But what's interesting is that some of our listeners may be going like, oh, well, who cares about sound? Some may not get that the sound of the club has so much to do with the feeling we get from golf, because it's the sensations, it's the feel that's transmitted through our hands, up through our arms, and the sound of it. And so it's really, really important that it sounds good, and it all blends into why this club feels so good to me as I swing it.
Mm-hmm. And to your point, sound, like I say, there are two elements to sound that they really talk about, which is the frequency of it, how high is the pitch, and the duration of it, how long does it vibrate. And so that sound really is feel. They're one and the same as far as golf is concerned.
Yeah.
So when something sounds sort of aesthetically pleasing, it also feels good.
Yeah. Listen, I won't name it. Well, it's so far behind us, but years ago I was playing golf at the National, and Ben Kern was the head pro, a big friend of ours, and sadly passed away too soon. But I remember Ben was sponsored, I think, by Accuform. I'm mentioning another company because it's long. It's no competition. They
don't exist anymore.
But I don't know if you guys remember, Ben one day comes to the range, I got a new driver, and it was this Accuform driver. It was like kind of a donut in the middle of it, and it was just a horrible looking thing. But to your point, Jamey, I just remember trying it. Not only was it terrible to swing, but the sound of it was like, did I just hit that with a frying pan? Like, and it's funny how at that moment I realized that there's a relationship, and not just Ben, but if it doesn't sound right, there's something off about the way it feels too. And I guess there's an auditory. What I'm fascinated by, though, Jamey, is how they can do that. how they test it so that there's the right acoustic resonance. They have to bake that into the face of this club. I find that fascinating.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that I think obviously helps a lot with all the CAD modeling that they can do now. You can kind of put variables into a system now and say, what is this going to return? And it'll give you a range of what you can expect. And so, that obviously helps speed up the process. But I wish I could remember the exact number of versions of this face that they went through, because there are 60 layers to this. And each layer is sort of put in with a different configuration. Some look like a snowflake where there are actually 6 layers, sort of in an asterisk pattern. Some are laid vertically on an angle, horizontally, so they had to go through a huge number of versions of this face. And then when you apply it to the rest of the club, which is obviously hollow, you get sort of an echo effect that can occur in there, and working through that process to just dial in exactly what sounded right, what felt right, and most importantly, what performed right is a huge task, obviously, for the team.
Okay, a couple of quick things before we let you go. The just in no particular order, the launch of these. Let me back it up. This technology is available not just in the driver, but also in 3-woods, in hybrids. Just give me that product line. Yes.
Yeah. So the carbon face is only in the driver right now, basically because the size of the face allows us to save that much more weight. It's not as beneficial in a much smaller scale.
So everything I said completely wrong. Not in the
completely wrong. Don't listen to Soundball.
Not in the hybrid. Not in the 3-wood.
No, Howard, come on. No, we so the 3-wood we do have the obviously stealth fairway woods and hybrids or rescues. Both of those still have the sort of prior technology, titanium or steel faces. New carbon crown in the hybrid, which is really cool for us, and then also launching an iron, which is the iron, the stealth iron, I think is gonna be the sneaky winner this year for us.
Tell us about that. I didn't even know.
Huge story in the driver, but the iron.
The cap back technology in that iron. That's I'm fascinated by that.
Yeah, explain that to us.
Yeah, cap back technology. So really, what that allows us to do is have sort of a game improvement cavity back sort of golf club that allows for a lot of forgiveness, a lot of weight down low in the sole. But with the cap back, it really allows for that sleek look, that aspirational look that players want. So you get all that performance of an incredibly forgiving golf club. The cap back really provides a lot of structure to the face. So it allows the face to flex a lot to get ball speed up again. And they were able to harness a lot of mass out of what's called a cap back with toe wrap. So they're able to harness a lot of the weight by stripping out the steel from the toe and saving that weight as well, putting it low so that golfers can really launch the ball easily and launch it high and get better shots. And I think there are going to be a lot of people who've got your P790s, Tim, who might lean towards a game improvement club this year just because of how great it looks and how great it sounds and performs.
Well, you inferred a bit there, but I'd like you to elaborate. What does the cap back? What does that actually mean?
Yeah, so it again. So if you think of a traditional sort of cavity back where it's hollow, the issue there is it's not very consistent in terms of providing stability for the back of the club. So when you put that cap back on, what it does is provide structure and stability. And you think of something like a slingshot. A slingshot, to get a lot of momentum, it needs 2 stiff posts, obviously, to be able to flex on. And so what it does is it provides that stability for the face to be able to flex more efficiently. And it allows us to do other things like add a speed pocket at the bottom to allow flexion low in the face as well. And now with some of that weight savings coming from the toe, we're able to create a better product with better launch characteristics as well.
I wish people could see the smile on your face when you started talking about that, because there is something sneaky about that. I mean, here's the thing. A lot of people are playing I've been playing the 790s now. This is my 3rd version of them. But when I saw the product line, I'm like, those don't look like your typical game performance clubs. They do have a different look to them. And I saw that smile. You're thinking a lot of guys that, might be gravitating toward that for a little extra help, because they do look pretty sleek. Not that the other versions of the game improvements weren't cool, but these look different. The last question I want to mention is, what is the launch date of the the welcome to the carbon age, brand new TaylorMade Stealth driver. To be clear, not 3-woods, not hybrids. When's the driver coming out?
So driver and the fairway woods, as well as one of the two versions of our hybrid, are coming up February 4th. What we're calling our plus hybrid, as well as the iron, is coming out April 1st.
Wow.
So yeah, two big launch dates for us coming up really quick. Pre-sale is on now. Incredibly exciting for us.
Yeah. Well, I got my P790s, my new ones, yesterday. I mean,
Sweet, man.
That is just such a sweet looking club. My goodness.
I was going to say, you mentioned earlier when we introduced you that you get back from the holiday and a guy in your position, it's just you're going 100 now until the snow melts and people are, back on golf courses. Thanks for taking some time. We'll talk to you again. Jamey Dees is the product line manager at TaylorMade Golf, and it's always a pleasure catching up with you, dude.
Appreciate it. Great talking to you guys. Happy New Year.
Appreciate you.
Take care.
Take care, Jamey. Happy New Year. This is a lot. By the way, I think the 7th of January is about the limit of saying Happy New Year. After that, it's like, all right, we get it.
Agreed.
All right, Jay. Take care.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, man.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, I remember, this won't surprise you, but I remember where I was the first time I hit a metal driver for the first time.
Oh, wow.
I'd moved to Vancouver from Moose Jaw. And when I moved there, the last round of golf I would have played in Moose Jaw, like 79 or whatever, I was pretty sure I was using a wooden club. And I remember being on a driving range.
Did they have color TV by then?
No, not in Moose Jaw. That's right. Moose Jaw, I call Moose Jaw the land that time forgot. We had black and white TV at my house until I was in my teens. We didn't have I was my dad's TV changer. That's what I used to say. He would call me from anywhere in the house. Howard, come here for a second. I'm like, what? He goes, change the channel for me. All right. Okay, Pop.
Need beer, Dad, while I'm up?
Yeah. But I remember being in a driving range in Vancouver, and I used a metal wood for the first time. And now they look so small.
Oh, yeah.
Like everyone else, it was a TaylorMade, Pittsburgh persimmon. And I was just like, I'm not sure what I thought of it. I don't know if I thought it was going to catch on or not, but I do remember thinking, well, this is odd. Because here's the thing, even those early ones, the pop off the club was different.
Yeah, it was.
But the sound was what they needed to catch up with.
Totally. Yeah, and I'm glad we talked about that because sound is really important. It reminded me, there's I forget where I heard it, but there was a golf professional. Oh, I know. We're talking about people who have, some challenge, and there's lots of blind people who love to play golf, and which seems kind of, it's odd to get your head around that, but there's not as many people who are deaf who enjoy golf. And the way it's been explained to me is that the sound equation part of golf is such a key component of it. When you take that part away, there's not as much sensation in the game. So I just found that interesting. So the acoustics plays a key role. But I was reminded, so I can tell this story because Nike's no longer in the hard goods business. But when I used to consult for Nike, they had a square driver. I forget the name of it, but KJ Choi was playing.
Yeah.
KJ Choi was playing it, and it kind of made this, like, I love that what you said is like sounds like you're hitting the ball with a frying pan. This sounded like it was hitting like the ball with a garbage can lid.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like when KJ was on the range, everyone could tell, oh, KJ's arrived, because you could hear that thing and he hated it. He absolutely hated the sound.
And he was playing driver. It because of contractual obligation.
100%. Absolutely.
Yeah, that square driver, that was also another Accuform thing.
Oh, yeah. I think they were one of the first to try it. David Huber was the guy. He used to be with Spalding, and he came over to Accuform, and they tried this thing. It was called the Whistler. Yeah.
That's exactly what I think Ben had that day. It's funny. I know we're mentioning other manufacturers, but these are companies that no longer exist. But listen, TaylorMade's not. They know that there are other companies. And, when I heard on the broadcast yesterday, what they said exactly was, this is a great golf course to try out new drivers. So everyone had a new driver in their bag, and every company thinks they've got it figured out. But again, we're lucky to be able to play this latest technology. And, I didn't get new irons last year because my 790s I felt were fine. But the new ones, there's just enough difference. Like when you showed it here just a second ago, I think there's just enough difference. They're a little sleeker.
Yeah.
They, I think, I'm not looking for extra yardage out of my irons. I just wanted to, update them. And as far as us recommending, I mean, obviously we recommend all these products, but both of us had such a, I'd say, profound increase in pop off the club. And that was in December. The reason I mentioned that is because, it's like we get fit in the wintertime when neither of us are really in golf muscle shape. But knowing that, I went a couple of times to get just an hour just to swing some clubs before I went to the fitting. That being said, I don't know about you, but man, I was sore. I was sore because it's 3 hours. I mean, it sounds great, and we're lucky. I'm not complaining.
No.
By the time you've been there 3 hours, it's like I get to the end. I'm like, I don't care what hybrid you give me.
Exactly.
I'm tired. I can't swing anymore.
Of our vintage, yes, that happens. But what's interesting is and I just want to get into why the fitting experience is so good and so valuable.
Yes.
Is that so we've been talking about extra ball speed, which translates into more yardage. Well, what's interesting to me is that this year with these new irons, I actually went to stiff, which is interesting because I remember, you might remember this from about 4 years ago. I'm getting fit, and the young man goes, I'm not sure he used it, but I'll say to him, Mr. O'Connor, would you like to try a regular shaft in your irons? And it was like, oh my God, the day has arrived, the apocalypse. Finally, I go from stiff shafts in my irons to regular shaft. Next thing it'll be,
Senior
dentures.
shaft.
Yeah, dentures and incontinence, as major issues in life.
You like dentures in a shaft, Mr. O'Connor?
Anyways, the reason I tell this story is that I was working with Ryan when I was being fit in December, and we actually, he said, would you like to try a stiff shaft in your iron? And what we found was I lost about 2 miles an hour in ball speed, but my dispersion decreased.
That makes sense. Yep.
And that's what I'm looking for in irons, is just bringing it down. And so that's what we went with. And I just thought that was really interesting. And again, that tells you the value of getting fitted, because it really does have an impact on performance.
No, that's a great point. And again, we're lucky to have this association. I mean, we don't sell advertising. These are our advertisers. And so there's, it's not like, they're not doing this for free. They're doing it because they get some value out of it, we hope. But I can tell you, I wouldn't buy, if I wasn't associated with TaylorMade or anyone else, I would not buy golf clubs without getting fitted. It's just, I think most people now, even the casual golfer, knows that if you're going to go, even if you go to Golf Town, you've got to get some kind of fitting, because my big breakthrough with that club was we changed the shaft in it. A couple of different ones went in, and I ended up getting, and I know the geeks listening are like, what shaft did you get? I'm like, I don't know. It's blue. But but that shaft, whether it's stiff, regular, or whatever the frequency is that they line it up, it really does make a difference. And if you're playing with golf clubs, whatever their manufacturer are, that you haven't been fit for, you're doing yourself a bit of a disservice, because just that can make a big difference to your enjoyment of the game.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we get out of golf just for a second. Here's a little music for our next segment.
Whoa. Very 80s.
Do you know why I'm playing this? That's right, bass man. My Corona.
Oh yeah,
my boy
very
Tim.
Good.
We were talking before the show. On the 15th of November, I came back from Italy and got off the plane. My daughter texted me. She said, "Daddy, I have coronavirus. I have the COVID." And I said, "Oh no!" And she had old school COVID. This was Delta, the OG. And at the time, and I had this conversation on the Humble and Fred show, I said, this whole pandemic has gone on, and the first person I knew in my personal circle that had COVID was Charlie. Yeah. Well, since November 15th, like a lot of people who are listening, it's unbelievable how many people in our circle have COVID, including your own sweet, angelic self.
Yeah, I got the COVID. Yeah. And I'm here to tell you, I survived it, and it wasn't that big a deal, quite frankly. You want me just to tell
the floor is yours, my brother.
My experience? Okay. Christmas Day, I started to get that feeling in my nose and head, like something's coming on here, probably a cold. And then on Sunday, I was just super tired and again, feeling kind of congested, but a lot of naps that day and whatnot, and kind of foggy brained. On Monday, felt a little less tired, but still, something going on. But basically, so I went and got tested that day, and Tuesday night got the result. I did the PCR test, and Tuesday night got the result. You're positive. And anyways, it wasn't a big deal at all. For the rest of the week, my energy started to come back, and I still felt congested. I still feel some just kind of feel a bit congested, but I didn't have the yucky sore throat, didn't have the runny nose, anything. It was just, I got something here, and it was not a big deal. And the doctor said, well, I asked him, I said, is this in part because I'm double vaxxed? And he goes, oh yeah, that helps, and you're in relatively good health and all that. And so I got the COVID, and it quite frankly wasn't a big deal, but the key piece I think there was that I was double vaxxed.
Yeah, well, it's funny because both of them, now my other daughter got it. She got the new COVID, the Omicron, also double vaxxed. Charlie double vaxxed. I'm triple vaxxed. I mean, first of all, I'm sorry it happened, but most of the cases that I've encountered, yours and some other golf people I know, have all been pretty mild. But everyone that has a mild case of it has been vaccinated. Yeah. And I know I don't want to get into a whole deep discussion of vaccination efficacy, but really, if you're not vaccinated, you're doing yourself a disservice. And you could be you're sick, you're in great shape. I'm not sure exactly how old you are, but it's in your early 60s, 63, 4, something like that.
Next birthday is 6'5".
Well, Freddie, man, my other podcast partner just turned 65. Didn't seem to kill him.
Thank you.
but the point is, I don't know anyone that's had a severe case. But as your doctor said, if you're not vaccinated, you're taking a chance. It's not, you don't it may not necessarily be a severe case, but there's a higher chance it will be. I don't know anyone that's not vaccinated. I mean, I know a few people on the periphery of my social circle, but I don't know anybody in my actual friend group that's not at least double vaccinated.
I got 2 people.
No, I know you do, yeah.
In my community, if you will. And,
fun. Isn't that fun?
It makes it fun. Absolutely, it does.
I don't know. What would you rather have, a flat earther or a vaccine denier? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the problem is that then you get the Trump thing adding into it.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, oh my goodness. It makes for a very narrow range of topics.
Oh yeah. Well, golf is in there. I think I'd rather be friends with a flat earther because at least I can't get anything from them except stupidity. In fact, speaking of that, there was a great headline. Not a great headline, but it's a funny headline. I've screwed this up already, but it was basically the headline in early December from some news service was "Flat Earther and COVID denier dies," and I read that and I said, "There's nothing about that sentence that doesn't make sense."
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, how can you add to that? Oh my goodness.
So I'm glad you're well. You had a pretty short. I've had some other friends of mine in our age range that had 3 or 4 days of pretty sick, flu-y, scratchy throat, didn't feel well, night chills are some things I've heard, but nothing worse than a bad cold. Mild flu, bad cold is what I've heard.
Yeah, and Sandy got through it.
Tim's
She
wife.
was less affected, yes, less affected than I was, and my son Sean, uh, kind of just like that. But the senses I get from everyone is that everyone's going to get this. And I love that just the name of it, Omicron. It sounds like a transformer, for God's sakes, or something from a Japanese dinosaur movie. I
That's
guess
right.
Godzilla.
Omicron is attacking the city.
Exactly. But it's kind of like everyone's going to get this, kind of in the same way that we all get the seasonal flu now, unless you get your shot for that too. But and I think it bodes well. I can see why, quite on, politics aside, but I can see why the government people, taking the advice of the medical science people, have done a shutdown here in Ontario, Canada. Now you can't go to restaurants, bars are closed, gyms
Now
are
we're in
closed.
lockdown for 3 weeks again here.
Yeah, all of that. Because what they've said is that I think it's like half of 1% of the people who get this variant get really sick. So half of 1%, that's still, in a very populous place like Ontario, is a lot of people. So hence they went, okay, to spare the absolute chaos in the hospitals and all of that. And also it has such an impact on just people going to work. All the airlines in North America, they canceled upwards of, I think it was like a third to half of their flights because they don't have people coming in. So I guess maybe I did venture into politics, but
No, it's fine.
you can see why they're trying to do that, because just the thing of it, this thing is so highly transmissible. I've been sort of joking this week. It's like, you drive down the 401 going east, someone going west got COVID. Oh shit, I got it.
Yeah. Well, anyways, politics aside, I'm glad you're well, and I hope everyone stays well. Again, I haven't got it. I've been around my kids. We were very careful during the holidays. Had self-test before I went to my girlfriend's parents who are older, and just trying to take precautions. And, you mentioned the regular flu. So you don't necessarily have to get the regular flu. I mean, I could get through this and not have it, because chances are statistically you're less likely to get it than you are to get it. You still have, it's still even though it's highly contagious, in my little bubble, my little world, I could avoid getting it. Although I'm not afraid of it. I just for most people listening, statistically they won't get it, because statistically most people don't get the flu every year, no matter how you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
it's not a fait accompli. You're going to get this.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's nice to hear that your experience was pretty mild, and like a lot of people's experience.
Yeah, and then one thing, and maybe to close off this. So it meant that we had a very quiet Christmas. It meant no visiting, certainly not visiting my 90-year-old mother, having, brother-in-law and his wife come over. No, none of that, watched a lot of very cool Netflix things, and Prime was good
great.
too. But I said to Sandy, and this is the thing I wanted to say, kind of glad we got it and it's over with. We're done. We've got it, and maybe that's going to be a very good thing for us going forward in terms of how we're affected by another variant.
I'd still, get vaccinated, get your booster. I mean, I find it hilarious. People, do we have to get a booster every year? I'm like, whatever, sure, boost me in the eyeball. I don't care. I don't have people just it's incredible. So now we're gonna have to do this every year, probably. Yeah. That's the new reality. Just adjust to it.
Yeah, in the same way you have to renew your driver's license.
Right.
And that's the thing. Oh, that's the thing that drives me nuts. Is that okay? So you just want to drive a car? So you're 15 years old? Yeah, drive a car because you wanna.
Yeah, I know. Let's finish off with some golf. We've only got a couple minutes left in this episode. Really not a lot of golfy stuff going on. Although I've started, I'm not sure listeners understand, or maybe the STDs, but they would remember Brooke Benny Bamalam. You introduced me to him, I guess, a year or so, maybe more than a year ago. But Brooke really helped me. He's a trainer. He's a TPI certified guy. He's also a physio. And he was working with you guys at the Guelph Griffin golf team. And I've been working with him for quite a while now on, shoulder stability. And my shoulders were really bugging me last winter. And then I started working with Brooke. He gave me a great routine to use last summer. And then this year, I've been working on him with him on some actual training, some TPI stuff to get my body in shape. And man, this week I went at it pretty hard, like 4 days in a row, doing yoga and doing my workout. And I'm like getting all excited about the golf season. I think I tweeted only 96 more sleeps.
I got the number right down, eh?
Oh, I don't know. I just threw it at random like 3 months from now. But I've started doing that. I've started, taking some golf swings. I mean, if, I always talk on, during the regular season, the last couple of years, I've really not worked on my golf swing much at all. But this time of the year, it's sort of the time when I delve into it again and see if there's some things I can tweak. And, I've been taping myself. One thing I would say that has really helped me, and I've not availed myself of this technology as much as maybe some other people have, but if you're working on something and you're not self-taping, and this is what I do, and I was taping it on my phone and then transferring it to my computer so I could kind of see it in a bigger platform, but I've started doing this recently because all Macs, which is what I have, they have a thing called Photo Booth. So I've been taping my swing on my computer in my golf lab. Every time every sort of practice swing, I'll take 3 or 4 in a row, then I watch it on my computer, then I dump it. But I know you're smiling because I'm such a fucking nerd.
I just love it because you have a golf lab and people are going like, "Whoa, what's this thing got? Like a launch monitor?" No, it's a bedroom. It's got a mattress up against the wall.
I don't have the mattress on the wall anymore. I took that down because Rachel didn't like it. But also, she calls it the golf nursery. It's just golf gadgets everywhere. My plane mate, my super speed. Anyway, my point is, if you're not taping yourself frequently, and if you're working with someone, they're going to tape it. But when you're practicing whatever changes you're trying to make, I really have got into this recently. And what I like about doing it on my computer is I can actually see some of the things I'm doing before I even tape it. I can just watch my swing more on the computer. Anyway, so that's the only golf stuff I've been working on is just trying to get flexible. I mean, I'm going to be 62, and I want to be as strong as I can for the age that we are. Okay. Yeah, no, why are you grinning at me?
I just sort of said kid. 62.
I am a kid.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm very immature.
Yeah. Oh, well, good for you. It's more fun that way. I'm right with you, man. When people talk about training and keeping strong, it's not like you don't need to go to the gym for an hour. You don't. No. It's just do some things on a daily basis. I have a routine that I do Monday to Friday, and so it's usually 10 minutes one day and then it's 20 to 25 minutes the next day. And that's it. All of which is Brooke Benny stuff. And it's easy to do. And, it just really helps me. And there's a lot of science that shows now you don't need this major investment in time. It's more important that you do things on a daily, frequent basis. And those gains just add up over time. But just to come back to your point about videotaping yourself, why that's so crucial is that unless we get...
Hold on. Sorry. You said videotaping, which I love. I say... Yeah, sorry. I'm only laughing, Timmy, because my daughter always she goes, "Oh, are you going to videotape that? Are you, Benjamin?" Okay, sorry.
I know. That's like, I know. It's like being Canadian saying, "I play ice hockey." Yeah. It's just hockey, for God's sake.
So, anyways, the point about taping yourself,
when you record yourself on video, you're getting feedback.
Yes.
And feedback is crucial. If you're not getting feedback, you don't know what's going on. I mean, a couple of years ago, with the help of our good friend George McNamara in Pennsylvania, I was struggling, and he said, "Well, take some video out of yourself, down the line, front, all that." And what he saw was that I had, in my posture, in my setup, I had set up so that my head was behind the ball. So I was like, my weight was favoring the back and I wasn't even aware of it. It was in my blind spot.
Yep.
So just that, having the video looking at it, I was able to see, oh yeah, I could fix. And that's the value of recording yourself. Is that
Recording
you get
yourself on your VHS tapes. And I'm using beta myself.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, like I said, once I can hit a golf ball outdoors, then really for me, it's what's the ball doing, not what am I doing. And I'm no different than anyone else. Sometimes I see myself on videotape on the old. Sometimes I see myself on my Super 8 pictures.
And there's Mae West and W.C. Fields.
That's right. All right. No, but it's true. Here we have golfer Howard Glassman from the 1930s. No, I honestly, sometimes, recently, part of the problem, I will say, the downside of watching yourself on video is that you, for at least me, sometimes I can really hate my golf swings. I'm like, wow, I thought I was better than that. But little things, all I'm working on, because we don't talk about technique much on the show, but what I'm working on is what you just said. I'm really just working on my setup. Where's my weight? What do I look like? Is my posture, because I get lazy, my back's sore, and so am I bent too? So those are things that I can take a picture of, and then I'll do some little small swings. I no longer fire balls into the fire actual golf balls into the wall, although the marks are still there. But I have these little sponge balls that give you enough sort of weight on the ball you can feel yourself swing. And I just tape it because I really want to work on that because I can control that. I can control my setup, my posture, where my weight is. That's something that I can work on for the few months of the winter that have a big impact when you start hitting balls. Absolutely. Much more than most people think. And as you just said, great point. We're often blind to that because it just becomes, it sort of sneaks up on you. And pretty soon your weight's on your right side. You don't even know it.
Absolutely. And what's really cool about that is that working on your fundamentals is so important. That's like 90% of it is right there. How your alignment, obviously it's harder to do in the winter, work on that, but just your posture, your setup, weight distribution, all that kind of stuff. And recording yourself doing that has a lot of value. What's interesting and the danger is a little bit I find about recording is that people start to become too engrossed in form.
Yes.
And what it kind of looks like. And that's why I think that I always screw up the launch monitor stuff is so valuable because now you have numbers and you can actually see, what's the club face angle? What's the path? That's the crucial thing. So that leads me to ask, are you working with Case? Well, I guess they're closed down now, right?
I'm working. Here's the thing about Sean, and I'd like to give him a plug because, man, he is put a lot into that place. He's got Burl Oak
Indoor Golf.
Yeah, Burl Oak Indoor Golf. It is a state-of-the-art facility like I've never seen. He's got 2 separate places, a short game area, a TrackMan everywhere. So to your point, I go in there in the off season. Sean and I have worked a little bit. We sort of had a lesson late in the fall because I wanted to just sort of cement what we've been working on a little bit. And then I've gone in there from time to time, booked a TrackMan session, to your point. I do want to mention this about TrackMan and technology. Because my numbers on TrackMan, and I was there just before Christmas, are crazy. Like my distance and my club head speed with my 6-iron are way beyond what they are outside. And here's why that is. Because you're hitting off a perfect lie.
Right.
With no outside distraction to 8 feet away. And I'm swinging at a speed I would not normally. I'm not that I'm trying to swing faster. I think psychologically, when a couple guys were watching me swing that day and they're like, wow, you're hitting it so far. I go, dudes, I don't hit my 6-iron 185. I just don't. I can, but I don't. It's a bit of a false positive. So to Tim's point, again, if you're going to use that stuff, don't focus on how far you're hitting it, because I think a lot of guys get sucked in by that. Just focus on the path, club head, and those things are absolutely accurate. The path, club head, face, all that, face to path, all that stuff. Those are things with your instructor that I think are valuable. How far you're carrying it in a simulator, I don't think lines up. Even though guys, everyone will say, no, it's just like outside. Yes, maybe it's just like hitting a ball on TrackMan outside. I'll give you that. But I don't think it's like hitting your normal, to me at least, your normal 6-iron or whatever club you're using. Does that make sense to you?
Totally. The thing
false
too,
positive is what I'm saying.
there you go. The thing about hitting to a simulator is also you are, unlike when you're outside hitting a ball off green grass, you're responding to a target. You're in an environment. When you're hitting into a simulator, you're hitting into a screen that's just right in front of you, and everything you're getting aligned is difficult. All that stuff. So I'm right with you, man. It is tantalizing. It is to get engrossed in how far I'm hitting it and all that stuff. That's not the thing to look on. But it kind of well, this is a can of worms for you here. But it's really interesting is that Foresight, their technology, has been, a lot of people argue, obviously the manufacturer and a lot of the users, is that Foresight is better indoors at tracking the actual, getting the specifics, getting it more accurate, and TrackMan's better for outside.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah, and I've heard that a number of times.
Well, when we were fit, excuse my interruption, were we not using Foresight?
We were. The
Isn't that what
Foresight
TaylorMade
Quad,
uses? Yeah. So
which
they
is what Nate Robinson, who
Right.
who works out of Sean's facility, he uses the Foresight Quad.
Interesting. So Nate's working at Burl Oak Indoor Golf. Good for him.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's I'm really excited for Nate. He has been the director of golf at Rattlesnake Point for, I think it's upwards of 10 years ish, give or take. And
Been there a long time.
and he finally said, I'm way more excited to teach. So he resigned from his position there, and he's launched himself full-time as a teacher. And he's still going to carry on a relationship working in season out of Rattlesnake Point. But he's at Burl Oak and busy as ever. Unfortunately now they're all shut down. But I'm really excited for Nate. And just, I guess, a bit of a plug. He and I are going to be launching a program together when things open up again. And so we can talk about that sometime later. But it'd just be a continuation of some of the short game clinics that he and I ran at Rattlesnake Point.
Fantastic. So I wanted to, I'm glad we brought up Sean because he's put a lot of money into that facility. I've never seen anything like it. I promised Sean that we'd have him on when things, before things, shut down.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's only for 3 weeks because, they've sold, he's done very, very well with that place, and they've sold memberships.
Yep.
And it's a great deal. We're going to do a show sometime in the next couple of weeks, and hopefully we'll have some information as to when things will open up. But when they do, we'd like you to definitely give Sean and Nate. There's a bunch of people that teach out of there, but Sean's put a lot of, there's Nate and there's Ben Ferguson, people that we know.
Laurel Weavers as well.
Some really good, and it's a great place to go and practice. You can also go and play. They're going to have a league there. You can go play games with your friends.
And a very cool, so you alluded to it, short game area.
Short game area is
fantastic,
awesome.
big indoor putting thing. Yeah, you can chip,
chipping.
all that stuff.
They have been there. They've done a great job.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's interesting what you say. Like I said, I'm not saying I love TrackMan, I did my TrackMan numbers in the season last year. That's why in my yardage book my yardage bookie thing, I have all my numbers. How far I hit a ball, how far I carry it. Those are all TrackMan numbers, but they're outside numbers because my indoor TrackMan numbers are just beyond what I would normally swing that club at. I was like, it's crazy. And then again, getting back to our original conversation. So are the driver numbers valid? I can only tell you the numbers of club head speed and ball speed were absolutely accurate. Whether I carried it really 15 more yards, but I'll tell you, I carried it 15 more yards in my sim. So there's something there.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to and what Jamey said about playing it outdoors. I can't wait to see what it looks like.
Oh yeah, I already had during the holidays, Golf Channel showing old I think Memorial Tour Championship, and I was already into that. Oh man, look at those guys in golf shirts outside hitting balls off green grass.
Yeah, well, that's why I like watching that tournament. And the first couple of tournaments are from Hawaii, the Tournament of Champions, and then the other one. It's just part of it is I've been there a couple of times, and it's just beautiful. But it's made so much more so, as you say, when you're watching people not hunched over and shuffling through salt-stained sidewalks.
Exactly. Hey, I got to ask you real quick because our dogs are similar in terms of. Yours is a Boston Terrier and mine's a Boxer, so they don't have much in the way of hair. How is Stan on really cold mornings like today? Because Freddie, it was funny. So Freddie, we got him in his coat and everything. We go outside. We're outside 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Does his business. We're going back in. Me, I spent 10 minutes getting, Arctic survival gear on.
Stan doesn't, I tried putting boots on him years ago. He hated it. I bought these pretty expensive Velcro straps and he never kept gnawing them off. On really,
That's
really
hilarious.
cold days, like I'm really lucky because I can just open my back door. I've got an area there that's enclosed and he can do his business. And then later in the day, I'll go pick it up. So I don't need to even put a coat on. But to go for his walk, like I'm going to take him for his walk today. And I take him to, the field where I hit golf balls. And it's enclosed, so he does about 20 minutes. But they're both short-haired dogs. What really bothers him is the city streets, the salt.
Yeah.
He'll do that thing where he gets some in his paw and it gets wet, and then he does the one-legged thing. All right, well, thank you very much, Tim O'Connor, O'ConnorGolf.ca. Look for some new stuff coming up for Timmy in the new year. Swing Thoughts, of course. We're excited to be back. The official Swing Thoughts season gets underway the first week of April. All this stuff in the wintertime is just us, killing time, talking, geeking out about golf. Humble and Fred Show, humbleandfred.com. And thanks again to TaylorMade Golf, Jonathan Wong Apparel. And thanks to you, STDs. We'll see you in a few weeks.
Sound of the river, you stop and you hold every